Hey guys, what is up? It's GoFlag44 here, bringing you another Hawk Ramblings video. This is going to be talking about Drew Brees versus Russell Wilson, the Saints versus Seahawks matchup, and what my thoughts are pre-game and how I'm feeling the day before. First off, I just got to say I am super. Make sure you hear that pee pop. I don't have any pop filter. It's coming straight to my mouth to the mic. That's how I roll. Speaking of, actually, Blue Yetis were on sale for like $11 or $12 real quickly, and I would have grabbed one if I saw it quick enough, but they sold out, unfortunately. This is a Blue Snowball, and it's a really solid mic, but Blue Yeti is looked at as better, and this one costs like $60, and usually Blue Yetis are like $90. So it's like, I could have bought a couple because why not? Mics are always useful, and it's a great one. Anyway, that's a little side tangent there. I'm really excited for this game. It has been 2 weeks since a Seahawks game, and boy, do I miss it. I really enjoyed watching football. I really enjoy watching football, but man, it's a little different when you're watching your team go out there and play prime time against, the second best NFC team in the league. It's like the two best NFC teams battling it out on Monday night, and it's the Seahawks in CenturyLink. It's like it's going to be cold. There could be some snow. It's like, oh my god, this is like the perfect storm. Like I can't express how perfect this is. Maybe it would be better if it was the San Francisco playing the 49ers in this environment, like it was last year, this sort of thing. But would it be better? Would it really be better? It's like we know the San Francisco rivalry, and that's super fun. That's great. But this is something different. This is a next level. This is like, it's past rivalry, and these are just two great teams going at it, and the rivalry games are always fun. It'll be fun next week. But this is just something different. And, rivalry games, you can have rivalry games when your team's awful. Two awful teams can have a rivalry, but when two great teams like this are able to come together and there isn't much rivalry aspect, but just watching two great teams slug it out, man. The Seahawks haven't had, they're not even the Seahawks. There hasn't been a sports team in Seattle that have been put in this situation in a long, long time. And man, this is going to be so awesome. So, why I chose to have Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. First off, I was like, how am I going to make a thumbnail for this video? The game hasn't been played yet. I guess I could use an old Saints, or the old Saints Seahawks, beast mode, beast quake run as my thumbnail, but it's like, these two teams have evolved so much. There's been the uniform change. That just looks weird. Like, I can't even look at the old uniforms anymore. So how am I going to do this? Drew Brees versus Russell Wilson. And that is kind of it's one of the underlying themes of this game. It's Drew Brees, who is the master, a short guy, but, just phenomenal, great quarterback, and tremendous player. And then it's Russell Wilson, the young guy, scrambler a bit, hasn't lost at home, and guess who he looks up to? Drew freaking Brees. And they both just like gush when they talk about each other, just like compliment each other. It's like a little bromance going on there, and it's like, man, it will the master Drew Brees be upended by the apprentice of Russell Wilson, because when they were both in the Pro Bowl last year, it's weird to think that Russell Wilson was in the Pro Bowl last year. He definitely deserved it, but he somehow snuck in at the end. I don't know. And I saw somewhere like if the MVP was picked now, it would be Peyton Manning number 1, Drew Brees number 2, and Russell Wilson number 3. And I was like, really? Well, yeah, that there's no Tom Brady hasn't been the same. And then it's kind of like you don't really think about Drew Brees that much, but man, is he really good? And then obviously Sean Payton might be up for Coach of the Year if it's not Andy Reid, because Andy Reid obviously coming to a new team is pretty special. But when you think of Coach of the Year, it's like Sean Payton. The Saints were not very good last year when Sean Payton was out, and now he's back, and they're back where they were before. That pretty much shows, how good a coach can be and how influential a coach can be, in certain situations. And I think, the Seahawks have that sort of coach of their own. Although at this point, I don't think they would drop off completely, because I think Pete Carroll, his philosophy is what's instilled in this team, and John Schneider would pick someone that could be similar, and I think they'd still do well. He definitely helps them out a lot. Anyway, this is going to be a lot of fun because, like I said before, Drew Brees versus Russell Wilson. It's one of the best pass offenses versus one of the best pass defenses. There's the whole Beastquake, Marshawn Lynch run when they played before. It's like, man, it's gonna be so great. But the one thing is Percy Harvin's not expected to play, and let me talk about my thoughts and regarding that situation real quick. Quick drink of water because this is getting juicy. When Percy Harvin was first announced that he was missing practices, I got a little concerned. I was like, this isn't good, but I'm not really too worried. I'm not going to be worried until he's not playing Monday night or until Pete Carroll says something, because as far as I know, this is all some gamesmanship stuff. Like, the Saints don't know what if he's going to play and all that. And we really don't know for sure at this point because he's still not officially out. But on Saturday, it came out, Pete Carroll said that he's going to be doubtful for the game because he's still having soreness in his hip, which is just unfortunate because even after the game against the Vikings, it seemed like he was good to go. He said he was good to go, and that it flared up again is too bad. And maybe, we thought the bye week, okay, he'll be good to go. He'll be able to rest up. There'll be no problem. But maybe this hip injury isn't exactly what we think it is. Maybe him going out there and playing and then coming back and playing a week later, maybe that's what he needs because there's no structural damage. This is all, just soreness and pain and, the stuff around it. And so it could be that him working out, doing the same thing, and he gets going through it, that it doesn't flare up like this because maybe him staying stagnant for a while lets it flare up. Who knows what this really is? And I think that if this, the other thing is like, man, this is a huge game, but it's not like this is a must win for the Seahawks. It's like they're probably going to be the 2 seed no matter what. This probably secures the 1 seed. A win clinches a playoff spot. It's not like this is like a must win playoff game, but it kind of sort of has that atmosphere and has its benefits without having those downfalls. If the Seahawks lose tomorrow, they'll have lost to a great team, and they'll be 10-2, still in firm control of the NFC West and going, with a chance to, secure it against the 49ers. And so there's kind of those two things to balance, and I don't know. It should be a lot of fun, and I'm excited, but it's just it's so different. Like I'm not used to this sort of game. Even last year when the Sunday night game against the 49ers, they beat them, but it's not like them beating them certainly helped, them get into the playoffs and all that, but that way wasn't really for the division title. It wasn't, this feels like it's for the 1 seed, but it's not really. I don't know, it's like football isn't, it's not like you're never going to get a perfect storm, but this is pretty, as close as you can get. And so with the Percy Harvin news, getting back to that, when that came out, I was pretty disappointed. I was like, okay, this is what we got him for, this sort of big game. Like, come on, Pete, we got to throw him out there. So I was trying to think, if he's just sore, can he play through it? Like, Percy Harvin seems like a tough guy. Like, he can play through injuries. It's not like I'd calling him it's not like that wouldn't put that past him. He seems like he wanted to get out there on the kickoff. He's wanted for more time. He's not just content with taking his money and moving on. But he does seem cautious about his body. That kind of reminded me of Derrick Rose with his ACL injury, making sure he was right before coming back. But I think this obviously, Derrick Rose, it was a much bigger extreme because he was medically cleared, but he was kind of holding himself back. In this, he wasn't medically cleared. But, that whole gray line, it's hard to tell what's true and what's not. And I think the Seahawks do want to be really careful with him because he's not like he's going to be a free agent next year. And it's not, like this is the 1 year and they're invested with him and this is the 1 year they have a chance. And this isn't a must-win game. If this was a playoff game, I'm sure he's out there. If this is, a couple years down the road when his big money is up, I'm sure he's out there. But this is a game where they can afford to let him rest. And while it does seem crazy, it's like, wow, you're playing the best team in the NFC. They're not going to play a tougher team the rest of the season, presumably until the playoffs. How can you sit him out? And it's like, it's not like this is in New Orleans. This is at home. You have all these other weapons. You have a bye week. Thinking about the other wide receivers, I was like, man, because the last game I was targeted in on Percy Harvin. I was watching Percy Harvin. That's who I was focused on. The rest of the game was fun. I enjoyed it, fun to watch, but it was all Percy Harvin all the time. This one is like, man, I could be content focusing on freaking Jermaine Kearse. It's like, wow, if you go through the Seahawks, wide receiving core, you've got Golden Tate, who is a fantastic player to watch. Not on Percy Harvin's level, but pretty, I wouldn't say pretty darn close, but he's a level and below him, but that's still perfectly exciting, perfectly fun to watch, and he's a different player, and it's, if Golden Tate is your guy to watch, that's a perfectly good guy to watch. You got Doug Baldwin, who's a clutch third down player, and can show up big in the end zone and has been known to make big plays and is the timely clutch guy. It's, if you had to focus on him, that's fine. If you got Jermaine Kearse, who, is kind of the young guy, kind of unpredictable, but is able to make those big catches and perfect fun to watch. And then you got Ricardo Lockette, who's like the wild card. I could see him, they send him on just a streak play and just they throw it up to him and let him go get it. And, who knows what happens there. So, like, all those guys I'm super excited to watch, and I'd be happy to see focusing in on that. And so then it's like, maybe, do you really need a Percy Harvin to elevate your motivation to get excited for this game? Do you really need that? And it's like, man, in some senses, this is the game for Percy Harvin. In other senses, this is the game where he doesn't need to play, depending on your perspective. And so at this point, it's like, man, would Percy Harvin being active be the icing on the cake, the perfect cherry on top? Yeah, but do we need him? Do we really, is that required? No. And I was also thinking, like, wow, Percy Harvin, he is an integral part of this team yet, and if that's too bad, that's because of his injury, but it's not like the team is relying on Percy Harvin. He got one catch last game, he had the big kickoff return. That's just bonus stuff at this point, and at some point down the road, he will become a core player, but he's not at that level, at this point with his injury and all that stuff. And, I think having an offensive linebacker is much more important. Their only injuries are Browner and Harvin, two great players, but, relative, that's not that bad at all. So that's kind of my take on that. I don't know, I'm just stoked for this game. Tomorrow I've got school. It's supposed to be possible snow stuff. So sorry, I can't get that out for some reason. I'm just too excited, I guess. So there's kind of that intrigue, and then you've got the game intrigue. It's like, man, I'm not gonna be able to get anything done tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some interesting content so I can stay semi-focused, and then I'll have Ultimate Frisbee afterward to stay, take my mind off for a bit, come home, get my homework done, sit down for pregame, and just get ready for, just get ready to soak up this game. It's going to be awesome. I'm super excited, as I've said before, and I think this will be a great matchup. I think the Seahawks will win this one. I think they should win this one. But it's going to be a fun ride, and I'm going to enjoy it. It's not like I'm going to be stressing out for them to play the game. I'm just going to enjoy it. And hopefully, the big thing is that they come out fast, they come out strong, and I think the CenturyLink crowd will definitely help that. Last year against the Dolphins, they kind of came out slow. I slept in. I missed like half the first quarter, and it's like, all right, this is a game really happening. This is really starting. It was just kind of like caught me off guard. I think caught the team off guard. But this game, hopefully they learned from those mistakes. They had some days off. Hopefully the guys stayed focused enough. They had Thanksgiving off. It's like, wow, okay, I think they deserve Thanksgiving off, and that's fine. But you got to make sure these guys are ready. And I think they've grown as a team. They're more mature now, and I think they will be ready. And we will see. And it's all about this. You can talk about it as much as you want, but all that matters is what happens on the field. And I'm excited to watch. And if you are thinking about watching, you definitely should. This is going to be a classic. No, probably not. Maybe not a classic. Hopefully not a classic. Hopefully the Seahawks take care of business. Although hopefully a classic. I wouldn't mind watching a classic. I don't know. I'm done talking. I'm not adding anything at this point. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.